Okay, I know you're all gonna hate me for continuing to talk about Glee, but I felt like I kinda had to make this video. Why am I so dark? No, that doesn't help. I tried. Anyway, so this video is, as the title indicates, is gonna be about me talking about a few random Glee topics. The most important one being that Glee fanfiction isn't perfect either. Okay, because you gotta remember, a lot of the Glee fanfiction was being put out while the show was airing. So there are multiple fanfictions where Santana is definitively bisexual, but then ends up with either Brittany or some other female character because they were written during the show's first few seasons. And even the fanfictions that are written later in the show's history or after the show had finished, you still end up having the jump that happened to us in the show, where it was just silently accepted within the fanfiction she slept with guys at one point, then became a full-on lesbian. There are those moments whilst you're reading them, okay? Hey? Because you gotta remember, Glee was written with continuity errors, so the fanfictions are going to have a decent amount of them as well. Even when it comes to fanfictions that are about my favorite ship, which is Faberry, there are problems in there, even though part of me does think I'm being a little over the top about this. Because, as I said in my Season 3 review, okay, our strongest evidence that suggests that Rachel could have feelings for Quinn has about the same weight to them as the weakest bits for Quinn saying that she has feelings for Rachel. Fan fiction also usually continues that trend, because when it comes to detailing how Rachel and Quinn develop feelings for each other over the course of a long story, I'm not going to talk about the 1 or 2 chapter stories. I'm not going to talk about that. Over the course of a long story, what typically happens is one of these free-ish things. One, Quinn has always been in love with Rachel, and then Rachel, for whatever reason, falls in love with Quinn. I'll get back to that. 2, there was a big event within the fanfiction that causes Quinn to have feelings for Rachel, and then Rachel, for whatever reason, falls in love with Quinn. Or 3, the dynamic big event happens to both of them, and they fall in love with each other simultaneously. What I'm getting at is that in the fanfictions, it is much easier to chart Quinn having feelings for Rachel than Rachel having feelings for Quinn, and here's the catch. The majority of those stories, regardless of the first or third person, we follow Rachel for the majority of them. Yeah. It's harder for us to chart the character that we're following for most of the story than the other end of the equation. See, Glee fanfiction is not perfect, okay? There's multiple issues with it. And then, of course, there's little general trends of fanfiction that'll kind of drive you batty, because, say that it's Quintana or Pezberry. It seems like in a lot of Pezberry fanfiction, Santana and Brittany have a good relationship, but if it's Quintana, a decent amount of the time either Santana is not in good relations with Brittany, or they had a really messy breakup, kind of, like they did on the show, and then Brittany is made out to be bad. Not to say that all Quintana fanfiction portrays Brittany as bad. If you read the fanfiction Hearts Falls Start, it's actually Santana that is more responsible for breaking up with Brittany, and Brittany is actually perfectly nice in that fanfiction. Yeah. Okay, so I think I've done the fanfiction topic to death. Now, the other main things that I wanted to talk about. Recently, I've become aware that there is serious discussion, if not actual casting, going on for a reboot of Glee. Part of me is thinking, like with the Harry Potter reboot, it's a little bit too soon because even though it's been about 25 years since the first Harry Potter movie came out, it's only been about 15 since they ended, and you need to base it based off when the previous work ended, not when it began. So to all the people saying that a long time has passed, no, not really. Okay? Hey? And with Glee, obviously, even less time has passed since that show ended. But the difference is that Glee is a more tangible concept that is much easier to, rework and redo because, it is supposed to be a sitcom. It just has other elements to it. Whereas for Harry Potter, that's a very constricted and defined work of media with a lot more additional rules to it. Because even though Harry Potter and Twilight and Lord of the Rings are the most fan fiction entities, are the fan fiction works that have the most entries done about them, the fact that there are so many additional rules for all three of those actually makes the fan fiction seem less tangible, less meaningful to me. Yeah. The best Twilight fanfictions that I've read are actually fanfictions where no vampires, no werewolves, all the people are my age, like 30. Huh? That's bad when stripping away the unique themes of a franchise actually makes it more enjoyable. Right. Glee, on the other hand, there's barely any additional rules. Okay, it is much easier to write fanfictions that make them seem tangible. So this is a concept that you can redo. And a lot of people, I think, do actually want something like this to happen, where it's redone, because having just finished watching the show, it behaves really different as the show goes along. The writers definitely were making up a lot of things as they went, and just... yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong, it put a lot of people on the mat, and it will be hard for me to think of anyone else portraying these people besides the people that I'm familiar with, but if they really want to go for it, and they have a better plan that will make the show seem uniform, regardless if they want to keep it in high school, or see people age, or even try and do both again, though that would not be wise. If they really want to go for it, go for it. Why is no one else talking about this really from the show? It's because, one, not that much has happened. Two, all I can really say is I have a lot of nostalgia for it, I don't want this to happen, or I have no opinion, go for it. Neither of which carry much weight. Really, yeah. So if they really want to go for it, go for it. We'll see what happens. But like with the Harry Potter thing, I'm going to wait until it's done because I don't watch current TV shows. Too many of them get canceled on cliffhangers. And then, since I didn't actually talk about Quinn being gay in my Season 6 review, I decided, why don't I come up with my own head canon as to how I would have approached handling that issue after Season 3, and then give it all to you. So, I'm actually relying on Corey passing away in this headcanon, because the funny thing is, his passing, well, opened the door to make it easier, you know? Okay, because it's not like you know that I don't like the character of Finn, okay? But there are a decent amount of fan fictions that used Corey's passing in real life to either write Finn out of the picture or just make him a dick character, even though I really do think he was a bit of a dick anyway. He had some good intentions, but just, gosh darn it. That's not the only character that I felt this way about, okay? Right. So, in my head canon, Finn does still die, okay? So you basically have seasons 1 through 3 play out the way that they did. Then in season 4, even though I hate this, you still have Quinn making the mistakes that she makes while she's at Yale, you know, dating that professor off screen, developing a hatred of men at the moment while she's trying to find herself, and then she sleeps with Santana. Now, all of that plays out exactly the way that it did in the 4th season, other than you ditched the line of Quinn saying, "Oh, but Rachel brought me that train ticket." No, Quinn, you bought it for Rachel. You could have somebody ask, you know, have you two used your train ticket? And Quinn goes, "It just hasn't happened, okay? It just hasn't." Then in season 5, it's fine that Quinn doesn't appear in the quarterback episode. If anything, that strengthens the headcanon for what happens next. So what happens is that Quinn will then appear in the 100th episode, but she will not have that boyfriend. But there is a bit where Puck tells Quinn in much better terms than season 3 that he is in love with her, and Quinn will admit that she does deeply care for Puck, but she does not carry the same feelings towards him because she's come to realize that she's in love with somebody else. She then whispers in his ear who it is, because we, the audience, are not ready for it yet. Puck flinches in surprise, but then he actually will smile and say, "Hey, and now it all makes sense." And then you have Quinn blush, but Puck goes, hey. You finally figured yourself out. You did what I said. It's about time. You could tell that he's sad, but that he'll be okay with it. And then you have a random bit of dialogue where, like, everyone is in the show choir room doing stuff, and then Santana will walk over to Quinn after making things up with Brittany and her dialogue with Puck. And Quinn will be looking at a picture of Finn, and Santana will go, "You told her yet?" Quinn will shake her head, point to the picture of Finn, and say, "It's too soon." No. Revealing to us audience that she has feelings for Rachel. Santana will nod, but then say, "Don't wait too long, okay?" And then she walks away. And then you can have Quinn not appear again in season 5, but you can have a line of dialogue where she writes to Rachel and Kurt at some point during the latter part of the season, letting them know that she's okay and that she's hoping that she can schedule a visit with them soon. But then you have all the drama at the end of season 5, even though I think that was stupid, and then you have Rachel go and do her project, and then she comes back to McKinley at the beginning of season 6. So because Corey passed in real life, they had Sam be there as like a helper to Rachel, and then you had Kurt be there. You can still have the dynamics with Sam, even though the romance bit was kind of forced, but at the same time I did think the hypnosis was hilarious. So you instead have Diana, when she appears for the second and third episode, you have one scene where she's busy helping Rachel with her stuff, although her hair will not have that stupid shade like it did in all but her last appearance in season 6. And Rachel goes, "You really didn't have to help out, Quinn. Kurt and Sam were." Quinn goes, "It's the least I could do. We never used our train tickets. I want to help. Help." And Rachel goes, "No, seriously, thank you. You've been a great friend. It's a bummer that I couldn't do the same to you." And she'll hug Quinn. And Quinn, like when she told Rachel that she wanted to come to her and Finn's non-wedding in season 3, you have a moment where it looks like she's giving a tiny gasp in surprise at Rachel hugging her. But this time, instead of her smiling, she'll have an expression that is closer to sadness, where she's like, "I want to tell you, but I just can't right now." What? Then, either later in that episode, or even though Diana wasn't available to film the wedding, you have a short little bit where Rachel is talking to some people, and then Santana will catch Quinn's eye, and she'll just jerk her head at Rachel as if to say, "Well?" And Quinn will shake her head, and Santana will be like, "Ugh." But she won't say anything because she knows that it's a delicate issue. So then fast forward to after the new directions in season 6 take sectionals. Instead of Jesse reappearing, you have Quinn talking to Rachel in the auditorium, and Rachel will tell Quinn that she's decided to go to NIADA again, finish her degree, and then pursue the stage. Quinn will express support, but nonetheless go. "You sure that this is the way to try and find yourself?" But Rachel will go, "I'm fine, Quinn. Besides, I've been keeping you away from Yale, haven't I?" And Quinn will go, "Yeah, but I'm all booked up for classes there. I'm going to be going back and attacking this thing. I've got my head on the correct path now. You can use straight. It's not an offensive term. It just can be interpreted that way." And then Rachel will go, "Are you okay? You seem kind of nervous." Quinn will open her mouth to explain how she feels to Rachel, but she can't, so then she goes forward, and then she gently puts an hand on Rachel's shoulder and then kisses her. Rachel doesn't pull back, she just stiffens in surprise, and then after a few seconds, Quinn pulls back. You see Rachel looking at Quinn in surprise, but then you see two very quick flashbacks, such as the bit in season 1 where after they argue at Rachel's locker, Rachel gets slushied with the blue slushie because she's wearing that pink sweater. And then you fast forward to them in season 3 having one of their, tender moments, either when Quinn asks Rachel about going to Yale or giving her the train ticket. And then you see that Rachel is replaying their entire history in that moment. And then she's like, "Quinn." And no. And then you could have it be that Rachel kisses her then, or that she embraces her, but Rachel has to do something there. She can't just stand there. And then all of a sudden, because they're in the auditorium, a spotlight gets shown on them, and then you have Sue Kitty or Santana go, finally! Jeez! The sexual tension was killing us! And then you have Becky show up going, yeah, bitches! This is a bad time! Hi! And then you have Rachel bury her face into Quinn's shoulder in embarrassment, and you have Quinn just go, oh my god. Odd, because she realizes it wasn't exactly subtle, was it? And then instead of, Jesse being in there with Rachel in all those scenes in the last episode, it's Diana. There you go. I don't think that's so crazy a headcanon to come up with, huh? And again, this is just a headcanon, okay? This is not something that I'm ever going to write down or just handle that. It was just, based on what you had to work with, could you have done it? Yeah. Would it have been kind of sudden, like St. Barry was at the end of season 6? Yeah. But because I am now aware of the friendship that Leah and Jonathan had in real life, their chemistry, even when Jesse was a bad guy, was great. And you can tell by season 6, he's changed a good amount. It's not perfect, but there is a part of him that does regret what he did, and Rachel has moved on from it. Yeah. Sudden, but it worked. She had way better chemistry with Jesse than any other guy that she had with on the show. Brody was supposed to be a foil from day one. We were never supposed to like Brody. Right. Alright, now it's officially time for me to put Glee to rest. See ya.